In America, there's a burglary every 11 seconds. An armed robbery every 65 seconds. A violent crime every 25 seconds. A murder every 24 minutes. And 250,000 YouTube reviews a day. See what I did there? What's up, guys? This is the first video in my series of nostalgic reviews. In this series of videos, I'm going to be covering all the films that hold just a special place in my heart, as well as why. And what better film to cover first than Cobra from 1986, starring Sylvester Stallone. This one follows Marion Cobretti, a cop for the Zombie Squad who is tasked with protecting a witness from a cult of murderers led by the Night Slasher. Now, I wouldn't class this as a perfect film by any means. It does have some holes in its plot, some of the performances are not the best, and the overall storyline is nothing that we haven't seen done before, but to me it also delivers doses of just all the things that make me love action movies from the 80s so much. You have tons of what are, in my opinion, amazing one-liners.
Your disease, and I'm the cure.
This is where the law stops, and I start.
We get that overbloated one-man army of an action hero, complete with the mirrored aviator glasses, a matchstick for a toothpick, and on and on. And Stallone as Cobretti was a glorified hero, but he was just as much an anti-hero with his routine lack of concern for authority, and I thought it all worked perfect with Stallone's performance.
Because as long as we have to play by these bullshit rules and the killer doesn't, we're gonna lose.
And no 80s action movie would be complete without the musical Montage, and Angel of the City by Robert Tepper was a perfect choice as Stallone combs the dirty underbelly of Los Angeles in search for clues as to who these killers are. As well as loads of product placement that prove Michael Bay didn't even start that trend himself.
I'll kill them all! You bring in the TV or I'll kill them all! You understand?
And to me, something that any great action movie needs, and that's a solid villain. And despite his 1998 Razzie nomination for Worst New Star, I still think Brian Thompson killed it in this role as the evil Night Slasher, if not in looks alone. I think Thompson was really effective in delivering his dialogues and mannerisms perfectly for creating a creepy bad guy that actually felt capable of being able to stop Stallone. You put all those things together and you have a classic 80s action movie. George P. Cosmatos was the director, but if you read up on this one, you will routinely see it noted that Stallone virtually directed this film while Cosmatos simply produced it, making it pretty much Stallone's project, given that he wrote and also starred in the lead, of course. There's also a lot of history behind this movie. It was in a sense the spawn of Beverly Hills Cop, which Stallone was originally attached to star in. Now, even Stallone felt he probably wasn't the best fit for an action comedy, so of course he rewrote a lot of the script, removed a lot of the comedy, he darkened the tone of the story and added a lot of action sequences that were not given the green light due to budget concerns. So Stallone departed the project, which I think was a good idea because Eddie Murphy absolutely owned that film. It catapulted him to stardom, and no matter how much I love Stallone, he wouldn't have been able to strike that lightning in a bottle like Murphy did as Detective Axel Foley to begin with. So in comes Cobra, a film based off that script Stallone wrote. It was a dark, gritty, violent cop film that earned an X rating from the MPAA that uncut had a runtime of over 2 hours, so in wanting to bring it down to a more acceptable R rating, the film then hit the chopping block. The film was cut from an estimated 130 minutes down to 87 minutes counting the credits. The film at the time was competing with Top Gun at the box office, so the shorter runtime gave them that R rating they wanted, as well as allowing it to be screened a couple more times per day per theater it was in. And we still don't have that unedited director's cut on Blu-ray, but I would really love to check it out someday to see what the extra 40 or so minutes could have really added to this movie. But as it was, I still enjoyed it as a fun, violent 80s 80s action movie. Stallone was awesome as Marion Cobretti, and like I said, Thompson was fantastic as well, so with a great hero and villain, it does enough to entertain to me, and I also thought that this cult of killers that the script revolved around were absolutely effective in giving this film an ominous tone that was a nice change of pace from the commonly singular antagonist. And Brigitte Nielsen, who was with Stallone at the time, was honestly not that good in this movie, but for some reason she doesn't really hinder it at all with her performance. I don't think. She does have some screen time. She is the witness that needs protecting, but she didn't really have an impact on things, and it was really easy to overlook a lot of her shortcomings. The movie, though, does have some fun shootouts, a great opening scene in the grocery store, some fun car chases that all locked themselves in the era with some solid practical effects. There were also some suspenseful moments that really almost give this film a horror-like vibe, which really blends perfectly with the group of killers and their leader, the Night Slasher. Plus, with basically an 85-minute runtime, it goes by fast, and it doesn't take long before you get to your hero-villain showdown in the steel mill after an awesome battle on the rural streets as Stallone takes out an army of killers, and to me it was a great closing to just a pure 80s action movie. I thought the final confrontation between Cobretti and the Night Slasher was awesome. It was loaded with male bravado, some decent fight choreography that didn't try too much, and overall it worked great in creating a fun action movie climax. So despite its flaws, I still love this film, and I'm going to give Cobra 90% on the entertainment meter, but once again, this is a nostalgia review, so take that grade with a grain of salt because I have no doubt that I love this movie much more than you do. So those are my thoughts on this movie. Now let's talk about why this one is so nostalgic to me, and I'll admit it's for an odd reason. But first, a little bit about myself. I was raised by my grandmother who had adopted my mom when she was a baby. We moved up to Seattle from Los Angeles in the summer of '85 when I was like 8, and I have never met my biological father. My younger brother, by just a couple years, grew up with his father's grandparents in LA. We didn't grow up together in that traditional family style at all, but in the summer of '87 when I was on vacation to see them, my brother, his dad, and myself, for some reason, watched this movie over and over. And it was funny because just a couple years ago, my brother and I were talking and he laughed about that scary ass movie that we watched as kids and how it terrified him given we were both way too young for it, but he just still liked watching it because it was nice to spend time with his brother and his dad, and it was honestly the same way for me. Those moments were so memorable to both of us because it was so close to that conventional family dynamic that it seemed like everybody else had, but after all those years, it was just awesome to hear his perspective on that summer despite it being unmentioned at the time, and we were both really enjoying those moments for the same reason. And while he and I have a great relationship today, the three of us never had those times again after that summer, so it just makes this movie, as weird of a choice as it may be, just very nostalgic to me. And I will give the disclaimer that we're both successful, law-abiding citizens today, so watching this movie at such a young age didn't distort our minds too much. And that's my review of Cobra, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what some of your nostalgic films are. Don't forget to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe so you can never miss a new video. Thanks so much for watching. As always, guys, I really appreciate it. I'm Anthony. This is the Silver Screen Analysis, and I'll see you at the movies.